An epoch is a distinct period of time, whether in history or a person's life. For me, the beginning of the epoch where I became interested in automobiles isn't easily defined, but it grew exponentially as I began to learn. Not only do I enjoy attempting to improve my vehicles, but testing those changes to the chassis on the best road I can find. My goal for the next few years is to build different vehicles and take them to the best roads in the United States. The term build has many meanings, but I'm learning as I go, so I hope to increase the complexity of the upgrades as I work. Join me here on Epoch Motoring. This is my 2007 Subaru Impreza WRX TR. It's a daily I wanted to pick up. I've always wanted one. I thought the front ends looked cool. There was a kid in college who had a wagon that was lowered on wheels that always looked awesome. So I always wanted a facelift, a 607 Hawkeye WRX. In this case, they came with 236 horsepower, around the same for torque. But Dyno says it's pretty accurate. It's definitely feels about that. It's 3,200 pounds, so it's definitely not as fast as something with that power could be, but it's pretty enjoyable to drive. It's my first Subaru. I really like it. It's more solid than I would have expected. I've had other Japanese cars. My old daily is a 2000 Honda CR-V. It's a great car. It's been reliable. It's been great, but being on the highway, driving in kind of rough conditions, it's just not the same as this. It feels way more solid. And like I said, this is my first Subaru. It's pretty cool. Subaru has a cool history. They were established as an aircraft research company back in 1915. And when World War II happened, they started looking into actually manufacturing airplanes and working for that effort. And then after the war, they actually started making scooters out of spare aircraft parts. So that's pretty wild. But after a while, the company was actually dissolved into multiple companies. The company that was originally Subaru, due to some Japanese legislature, and Fuji Heavy Industries was the main company that produced parts. They produced buses, they produced vehicles. Their first actual passenger vehicle was the 1600. They were renamed to Subaru by the CEO. It's a Japanese name for a star cluster. Subaru has been bought by a few different companies. Subaru was bought by Renault, which is owned by GM, and GM happened to also own Saab at the time. So GM took the Impreza platform and used it to build the Saab 9.3 and 9.3X for the Impreza and the Impreza WRX respectively. That's how we wound up with a weird Saab SUV that's really a Trailblazer underneath. Pretty wild. But since then, GM has sold their holdings and Toyota picked them up. And that's actually how we wound up with a collaboration for the Subaru BRZ and Toyota FRS. Both of those were a collaboration because Toyota owned some holdings in Subaru. It's pretty neat stuff. This particular car happens to be a one-owner from California. I bought it from the guy who originally picked this thing up off the lot. Very neat, super clean underneath. The only thing this needed when I got it was tires and an alignment, and every nut on the alignment actually turned loose. If you have had a Subaru in New England like I do, you've seen some pretty nasty rust under there. So super excited about that. I think this is going to be a great platform for a daily. So let's go have some fun with it and then get it back to the garage. When this car came to me, the original owner said it was stock. One thing I did notice is it looked a little bit lowered. What I found was there are actually drop springs in here. So we're gonna replace that with full coilovers, front and rear adjustable. Along with wheels, we're gonna do a different set of wheels and tires. I already picked up a set of wheels for this. First week I got it, I was pretty excited. And while we're in there, we'll do brake stuff as well. But the suspension clanks over bumps, which is what happens when you take a factory strut, which is meant to only compress and sit at a certain length, and you lower that, you make it smaller. So it expects to basically have more spring in there, more resistance in there, and over time they blow quickly. A lot of the V8 Audis, they do the similar H&R drop springs. These are pretty much no name. I can find them when I pull them out there. They're not a main manufacturer, but completely blown out right now. Goes down the road okay, but makes a lot of noise. This is the engine on the Subaru. It's a 2.5 boxer. I really like it so far. I've been shaking it down for about a month. Looking under here, I don't see anything aftermarket, which really excites me. The previous owner did take out the silencer in the intake, which suggests maybe he went with an aftermarket intake and then swapped back when he was going to sell it, but really no other mods on it, so maybe he did, maybe he didn't. It's not worth worrying about now. But so far everything's looked good. I'll detail it up, I'll give it a good scrub. It does look like it has about 160,000 miles on it under here, but after we clean that up, it should look pretty good. The interior on the Subaru is pretty solid, and for 160K, it's held up pretty well. It's not fancy. I've come from a lot of Audis. I really like those great interior quality. One of my favorites, probably just below Mercedes, but the interior on a Subaru is simple, but it seems to be pretty well built. At 90 miles an hour, it feels like you're kind of just cruising along, whereas my last daily, which was a 2000 Honda CR-V, felt like it was going to fall apart. As you can see, the interior build quality is pretty good. Like I said, it's not an Audi, it's got a crappy aftermarket radio, but outside of that, seats are a little bit dirty. I let my dog hang out in here, but it really is a good build quality, and there's nothing you really don't need in here. Alright, so what are we going to do with the Impreza? Well, so far we've done the rear tail light, the front hood scoop, we got that sprayed, and I polished the headlights so I could see where I was driving. Next up, wheels, tires, and adapters. We'll do that. We're going to jack this thing up, get it on jack stands. We're going to do brakes. Oh, we need to fix the fenders. And we'll do some coilovers, an alignment, a sway bar, an exhaust, an intake, that air pump delete, tune, short shifter. And then a couple of little ones I'd really like to do are new floor mats. The ones in there are ripped, so if I can find a decent set that aren't, super expensive, I'd really like to do that. And then HIDs, these have factory projectors, but they have non-HID bulbs, and I can't stand like the super blues or yellows. I just want like a white factory looking HID. So, next time, let's look at wheels and tires and adapters and getting those all fitted. And when we're done with all this, we're going to take it to a really fun road, get some good shots. I'm going to talk a little bit about the road. Really looking forward to it.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, give me a like and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at Epoch Motoring.